5:30. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting of the Carson City Airport Authority to order. Start off with roll call.
Chair Pulitz,
Present.
Vice Chair Norville,
Here.
Treasurer Sutton,
Present.
Member Flint,
Here.
Member Horton, Member Hutter, Member Stewart.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think, want to do it, Brian?
Sure.
Sure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have to assume that all of us have had a chance to review the minutes of the past meeting of the Airport Authority. So I want to, that being the case, I'd like to ask someone to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes. Okay, so moved by Mr. Harlow.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Minutes pass. Modification of the agenda. The chairman reserves the right to modify the agenda in order to most effectively process the agenda items. Items may be taken out of order. Items may be combined for consideration by the authority. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Public comment. Members of the public who wish to address the airport authority may speak on agendized and non-agendized matters related to the airport. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chairman to calendar the matter for a future airport authority meeting. The public may provide public comment in advance of a meeting by a written submission to the following email address, manager@flycarsoncity.com. For inclusion or reference in the minutes of the meeting, your public comment must include your full name and address and be submitted via email by not later than 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. The Carson City Airport Authority values your input. Members of the public who wish to provide live public comment may do so during the designated public comment periods indicated on the agenda in person. With that, I'm going to call for the airport engineer's report.
All right, so for the record, Brian Martinez-Moles with Wood Rogers. Not much new today that other than the ASIP, but that's an agenda item, so I will leave that conversation for the agenda item. Otherwise, just the two projects that are listed, the same as last meeting.
Any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Consent agenda. I'm assuming that everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda. Does anybody have any comments or requests? Okay, Curtis? Okay, Curtis would like us to pull item number 2 from the consent agenda. We'll go ahead and add that to the remaining items for the public hearing. I think I'll make it the last one. I'll put it number 3. Item number 3. So we'll move that. We'll move item number 2, and we'll bring that to item number 3 in the actual public hearings. So with that, we'll move on to public hearings. Oh, that's right. But I asked if okay, is everybody okay with the item number 1 for consent, and we'll move on? Yes. Do we need to vote on that? No. Okay, we're all good. So we've got.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
The consent agenda as written, eliminating item number 2. All those in favor say aye.
Second, we need a second.
Aye.
Second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? All right, motion pass. We're now going to move on to public hearings. Item number 1, for discussion and possible action, approve the Debt Book Master Services Agreement and order form for lease and the SBITA management software. I'd like to have a staff summary, please.
Okay, so we're looking at this item today because one of the findings in the audit is that we don't have a mechanism for compliance with GASB 87 and 96. And historically, the auditors have always done this for us since 2021 when these regulations were first initiated. They basically did it for free. This was kind of standard across the industry because there was no good understanding of these regulations, so the auditors were stepping in and helping out. However, they are now charging for those services. So we saw that on our last audit. It wasn't a finding. They just had to spend a lot of time and money on it. It cost us probably about $15,000 for them to do the work. So we are looking for a solution to where we can take care of this work ourselves, and this is primarily tracking ground leases and software subscriptions in a format that meets GASB 87 and 96 requirements. There's a software company by DebtBook that does this very well. I did my research and compared multiple different companies, and I do believe this is the best company for us to go with. They are also the same company that does this for the city. So they're already working with Carson City to do for the same reasons, the same compliance reasons. I strongly believe we need to execute this agreement. Technically, this is below the requirement for board approval, but since this is related to the audit, I wanted to make sure as public that we're taking action to do the best we can with our audit. I have more information available about the specifics of the software if y'all would like for me to run through that. However, I don't think it's necessary for the purposes of this, but I just want to let y'all know I can expand on that if you'd like me to.
Thanks, Corey. Would anybody like to have a discussion or possible comments on this? No, there's no one in the public that would like to comment on this? Okay, so no more discussion? I'll call for a member to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the debt book contract, provide Carson City Airport with specialized software for managing lease and subscription-based information technology arrangements to ensure compliance with GASB 87 and 96 accounting standards. This address this finding. So I make a motion that we approve that.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Very good. Item number 2 on the public hearings. For discussion and possible action, approve the FAA Airport Capital Improvement Plan, which is the ASIP, the 2027-2031 plan. I'm asking for a staff summary.
Okay, so we approve the ASIP every year. It must be approved by the airport authority and then presented to the Carson City Board of Supervisors for approval and then submitted to the FAA district's office. This year, it's a little different than what we've done in the past because I'm asking for an amendment to last year's ASIP as well as an approval for the current ASIP. And the reason why we're looking at doing that is also related to the audit. One of the actual audit findings was that our ASIP did not match our budget. And it kind of happens because we approve our ASIP about 6 months before we actually do the budget. So there's a period of time where things change there. We didn't make any corrections to the ASIP to make it match the budget in the past, so that's why we're doing this amendment today. That change is pretty simple. It's the combination of two of the grants. It is combining the North Apron design with the Taxiway Bravo design. And that is because the North Apron was a very inexpensive project and it did not meet the criteria for FAA approval. It has to be 25,000 federal portion for it to be considered for funding. By combining the two grants, this was by the FAA's recommendation to do it this way, so I don't suspect any issues. We make it to where we meet the criteria for getting that grant. That is why we're asking for the amendment. So once we do that amendment, the ASIP will then match what we'll have in the budget. The 2027 to 31 ASIP, these are very little in here is new. This is all things that have been in motion for a long time. It's a continuation of existing projects. So on here, we've got environmental assessment for the runway 927 and taxiway Alpha and Delta extension. This is a planning phase for a runway extension. This has been something we've been trying to get approved by the FAA for many years. Typically, each year they push back these runway extension projects. This past year, they did approve a forecasting update for the runway extension, and we've had very positive feedback from various different groups within the FAA, and things are looking better than they have in the past for getting runway extension projects approved. This would be the first phase of that. Also, a focused planning study and 25% design for the runway 927 and taxiway Alpha and Delta extension. Then the taxiway Bravo reconstruction, construction portion, and then the North Apron preservation construction. You'll also notice on this ASIP that we are including some self-funded projects. Historically, we have not included self-funded projects in the ASIP that we approve for federal funding. We've decided to do this because our primary objective is the runway extension, and we want to make sure the FAA is fully aware that we really want that extension. They've notified us that if they do fund runway extension projects, they're not going to fund pavement rehab projects. So we are including taxiway Alpha pavement preservation as a self-funded project to demonstrate to the FAA that if they prove that runway extension, we will be able to do this taxiway Alpha pavement preservation project. The reality is we can do rehab, we can't do reconstruction. So we are kind of getting to a point where the FAA really needs to give us the go-ahead on the runway, because we won't be able to self-fund reconstruction projects. And that's why on the ASIP, they're included as reconstruction projects. So hopefully the FAA will look at this and say, this is what we're going to do moving forward. But we may be pushed into a position where we have to push off runway extension in favor for these reconstruction projects if PCI of that pavement gets too low. Once it reaches 55, we really need to be looking at reconstruction, and we're approaching that on pretty much all of our pavements. It's just the reality of the situation. We all want that runway extension, but hopefully we get a good feedback from the FAA this year at our ASIP meeting for the runway extension. Because we can do these preservation rehab projects, it's just not going to last forever. That is all in here. That is all in the ASIP. We have the amended 26 to 31 one and the 27 to 31 attached. And Brian from Wood Rogers is here to help answer any specific questions.
Thank you, Corey. Any discussion from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. Then if that's the case, no more discussion from the board. We can go ahead and call on a member to make a motion. Someone want to make a motion?
Am I on? Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the 2027 to 31, Airport Capital Improvement Program, and the amended 2026 to 2031 ASIP for Carson City Airport, and authorize the airport manager to submit the grant applications.
Thank you, Mr. Norvell. Unless there's any additional discussion, I'm going to ask for a second.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Very good. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move to the consent agenda, item number 2. We're going to actually call this now part of our, public hearing, item number 3 now. And that consent agenda item goes as follows. For possible action, approval of change order number 4 to the contract with Houston Smith Construction, Inc. for AIP 44 snow removal equipment building, or as we call it, the SRE building, construction in the amount not to exceed $31,278.85. I'm asking for a staff summary on this.
Okay, so this change order here is for a couple of different items. One of them is a check valve and the manhole installation, and the swale material installation for landscaping. Leading into this, we took action as best we could to reduce the cost of this as much as possible. Rick Lee actually did a substantial amount of work personally, utilizing our new dump truck. He was able to reduce the cost of the material installation substantially. I don't know that exact number off the top of my head, but it was a significant amount by hauling the material from Cinderlight on the airport to the location. It's actually in my manager's report, and I'm going to kind of pull a little bit of information from that. It ended up being 75 yards of 1.5 inch rock. And there's actually some photos of this operation in the manager's report. And you can see the material that we're talking about. We're very lucky to have Rick Lee, who's able to do all these things for us. That saved us a bunch of money and made this change order a lot less. The change order itself is taking place because these things were not in the original plans, and they are required by the city. The swale is to reduce erosion and as a part of the drainage component. And the check valve installation is for the fire water line. And I'm available for questions.
All right, thank you, Corey. Discussion from the board?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
These are both items that are pretty standard, quite honestly, when you talk about construction of a facility like this or a site like this, and I really don't understand why they turned into a change order. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I would need a lot more information up front in order for me to support it, so I don't feel comfortable doing it personally at this time. So there you have it.
Corey, do you have any response to that? What was the cause? Why was it not? I asked the same questions, Curtis, myself.
So unfortunately, the engineer in charge of this project is not here. And I really can't answer that question for them as to why they did not include this in the original project. It should have been. I can say that the FAA has been very clear with us about delays in this project. This project is way behind schedule, and we are at risk of losing federal funding. If we delay this, it could potentially hurt our funding for the remainder of this project. Being the value of what it is and what it's for, and that it is required for the building to be completed, I would still recommend that we move forward with this change order. And hopefully future projects, we can make sure our engineer is checking all of these things.
Any other comments?
Just a question. What is it precisely you're uncomfortable with? What's the worst case scenarios for those of us who don't have experience with why this wouldn't be a change order.
Is your question for me?
Yes, sir.
I'm uncomfortable with the fact that it was not included in the original design, as they are standard features that should certainly have been included in the original design.
I understand that. I guess my question is, what if we approve this? What are you afraid will be the negative consequence? I mean,
I think not approving it, the negative consequence is losing our funding, like Corey mentioned, and that could be a serious problem without a doubt. But in good conscience, I can't sit here and support it because my background leads me to believe that it could have been done better. Just put it
Understood.
that way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? I have a comment. Curtis, I was exactly in the same place you were with this, because I'm a developer as well, and I've done a lot of these, and it's like, come on. You hire a professional that's supposed to have that information up front. It should be compliant with codes and so forth. But because of the fact that it could cause us to lose funding, and it could cause some other issues, I'm going to go ahead and I personally am going to support it. But I completely concur, and I have no problem with you not voting for it at all. That's how I look at it. Anybody else?
Yeah, Curtis, I feel the same way. That whole project should have been all wrapped up in a nice bundle with a bow tied around it. And to have a second time now where we're having to approve another change order doesn't make me happy. But again, we see the consequences of not approving.
Anybody else? I could offer members of the public to comment. None there. Okay, any other discussions? If not, I'm going to call for a member to make a motion.
I propose that we make a motion to approve a change order number 4 for $331,278.85.
Any last discussion before we have a second? No, I'm calling for a second.
I'll second.
All right, second's been made. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, we actually have a majority, so the motion passed. With that, we are going to move on to the airport manager's report.
Okay, so this has been a very busy month. Most of these items are in the agenda, and Steve will probably have a few comments on some other items. So I'm not going to elaborate more on those things at this point. Our fuel flowage was way up, 36% over the previous year, and airport operations were down about 13%. I found an error in my aircraft operations formula that's been contributing to why the annual change was so great, and I've corrected that. So this report for the year, all of the previous months is all corrected for airport operations numbers. I asked Rick Lee to put together a something to insert because him and Morgan, our newest employee, have been very busy. So I wanted to include some of the things they've been working on. One of the highlights was how much money he saved us on this change order that we just approved, which is right at the beginning there. It was really cool to be able to utilize that dump truck that we got for more than just snow plowing, and it's already shown to be very useful for us. There was a few aircraft incidents. I'm not really going to get into all of them, but he has one of them detailed right at the beginning here. It's been pretty busy. We normally are pretty quiet for incidents and accidents, but it's been a little bit of a busy month for that. So we have a new employee, Morgan, who's doing a fantastic job so far. He's a great asset for us. There was one of the items listed in here is that there was a stray dog on the airfield. Rick and Morgan were both working on the entrance to the gate where the bollards have been damaged for a considerable period of time. Right when this happened, Rick was able to leave that project and assist me with the stray dog situation, and Morgan was able to complete the concrete portion of that project by himself without any assistance from either one of us. It was a lot of work, and since we had him there, we were able to get that project done and deal with this very serious airport safety incident. Also in here, we're getting ready for snow season. Luckily, we have not been plowing yet. I don't know. I see that as luckily, and maybe not everybody does, but I like it when it snows in the mountains and rains at the airport. There was an ELT on the airfield. This was a fantastic training opportunity for Morgan. Rick was able to go through the entire process of locating and handling an ELT going off. That is something we deal with regularly. Many of the airfield signs have been replaced. 90% of the airfield signs have been replaced since 2022. This is something where we increased our airfield maintenance budget by $15,000 to $20,000 a year to make sure that we're getting these signage updated. None of our signs met the standard for commercial airports, and all non-commercial airports should always strive to meet that commercial standard. Now almost all of them are in compliance, and our costs will probably go down on that annually as we only replace the ones that need to be replaced. We have a tool that we use to actually measure the colors, and we'll be replacing the ones that don't meet the criteria only. We talked about the stray dog in the field. Animal control was brought in to assist with this. We also located how it was accessing the airfield, and we made some improvements to our manual man gates all around the airfield. Actually adding a section that will block the little gap in those manual gates. You wouldn't think a dog would be able to get through there, especially when that size, but it did. So that's been resolved. We haven't seen it since, and animal control was out on the airfield with us on one of these occasions, and they are on the lookout for this dog. Since it got made its way to the airfield multiple times, there's likely an issue with the ownership of that animal that needs to be addressed, and animal control is on top of it. Additional wildlife mitigation and habitat reduction was completed. So there was an issue where we had a really big increase in ground squirrel activity on the airfield, and they were burrowing underneath some foundations. And all of that has been repaired, and the attractants have been removed to discourage them from being on the airfield. Okay, and I think that does it for the manager's report.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question. Are there any updates on that damage to the east end of the fence along College Parkway?
It's been repaired.
Oh, it has been?
Mhm. Yeah.
Must have been in the last few days or something.
Yes.
About a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a
Damage
long
number
time.
15 or 20?
It was a back order of components
Until the next time.
till the next time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions for our airport manager? If not, we'll move on to legal counsel report.
I have very little to report. Corey did mention we've had a lot of activity, and when we have a lot of activity, either it's gear up landings or collisions or things like that, inevitably we'll get some claims that are made against the airport, and so we're dealing with one right now. I can't give you the specifics because it needs to remain confidential pending a determination as to whether it's going to proceed. But I just want to alert you that we're working on one right now, and you'll get a briefing when we have more information and can brief you. That briefing will either be in a closed meeting or it'll be some other way that's exempt from the open meeting law, because that kind of stuff is exempt from the open meeting law. That's all I have to report.
Okay, very good. Treasurer's report.
Things are running smoothly. It's nice to see. Last Friday, we had an opportunity to sit down with Corey and the vendor for the software we just approved, And I'm glad we did because that software is going to be extremely helpful for general day-to-day operations, but also when it comes to audit time. So I think that was a really smart move. That's all I have to report.
Okay, very good. Any questions for our treasurer? No? Well, is there any public comment? Nope. Okay, we don't really have any agenda items scheduled for the next meeting yet, so we'll find out as it comes. Unless we have any other comments, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.